Hey there, welcome to Engineer Your Career, a podcast brought to you by West, a learning community empowering women technologists through mentorship. Join us as we hear from inspiring women tech leaders who are challenging stereotypes and paving the way for future generations. We hope their career journeys inspire you with new ideas to engineer your career. Let's get started.
Hello and welcome to Engineer Your Career. I am so excited today to have a fabulous guest with us. I have Boomie Odumade, who is a fractional CTO, a career coach, and an instructor. And I'm super excited for everybody to hear about Boomie's amazing career stories. So welcome, Boomie.
Hi, well, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to hear more about your story. You have had such an amazing career. You've done so many cool things, but maybe we can just start off with what is it that you're up to right now? What are you doing?
Yeah, so right now I own my own company called TechBees, and through that I provide flexible engineering leadership to companies. So maybe that's fractional where it's part-time or interim where it's full-time but temporary. Additionally, I'm a career coach and I've also been releasing some AI courses. I mean, I've been an adjunct instructor on and off for over 20 years, but I've been releasing my own courses on a platform.
That's amazing. I love that. I feel like when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a teacher, a writer, and a psychologist. And it sounds like you've got the teaching part for sure in your role.
Yeah.
That is really cool. And I love that you're able to do it with organizations or individually, and then also as an instructor. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's actually one of the nice things about this. Like when I look at some of I have coaching clients who are coming on their own, and then I have companies who are either coming to help solve engineering problems or provide coaching to their leadership or engineers. So I get a wide variety, which I like.
Yeah, that's really cool. Keeps it fresh for sure. Yeah, I can see that. So how did you get started? I mean, it takes a while to sort of build up that amount of experience where you feel good about going out and teaching others, but how'd you get started? Like, what's your origin story?
How I got started in software was actually unexpected. I was getting a mechanical engineering degree, had a computer science class. I forget which language it was, but I had a semicolon in the wrong place and there were 200 compile errors.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, this is crazy. And, and I also wasn't initially getting good grades in the class. But by the end of the class, I was really curious and I wanted to understand how to make computers do what I wanted them to do, which meant, at least before AI, meant telling them very precisely what you wanted them to do. But I got curious, so I got a master's in computer science, and I've been in software ever since. And in terms of what I'm doing currently, it's been a combination of taking all the experiences that I've had from various employers. And my most recent, in the last decade or so, I've done a really good job of finding places that were a fit. And then for one reason or another, they didn't last. But I thought to myself, great at onboarding, I'm great at making impact quickly. Why don't I just make that my job? And I also don't like being bored. I like learning and I like doing different things. So being fractional also helps me grow more because I can work on problems at different companies and not just the problems a specific company has. So if a specific company is using one technology or trying to address one part of the strategy, that's what I'm going to be able to make impact on. But being fractional, one company might be working on one issue, another company on a different issue, and I'm solving both of them. So I'm having more impact and I'm growing.
I love that. Yeah, I do feel like that problem solving, whether it's technical or organizational, there are so many, it feels like a through line of a lot of people who stay in the industry for a long time. And
Yeah.
I think when we were prepping earlier, you talked about you've been at some really interesting and different companies and different industries. And was there a through line? Maybe you want to give us a brief overview of the variety of things, but was there a through line along the way that helped you or inspired you to choose each role?
Most of the time, my roles were chosen around, more around curiosity. Does this look like an interesting problem to solve? And I'm still curious, but now I also look at the potential impact that it can have and the potential impact I can have at the place. So there are companies, for example, that do amazing things, but they don't need me. I don't need them. Lately, it's more of a not just the curiosity, but also what they're trying to achieve, and and is it a good partnership for us? I think your partnership is the word there. So in the last decade, I've worked in healthcare, finance, media, climate change. So I've worked in a lot of different industries, but
Yeah.
usually it's about solving the problem and having impact.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that really is such a wide range of things and different industries and all with different things. But like you said, there's interesting new challenges at each of them.
Right.
And certainly that curiosity. I love what you said too about sometimes you find an amazing organization, but like exactly what they need or what problems they need you to solve are not exactly a good fit for sort of you or how you
Right.
operate. And that's a reality. I think sometimes people try to force it and then it doesn't always go well.
I'm so glad you said that. And one of the things I tell people is even in this job market, you're looking for a fit. You're looking for where you can do good work, where you can hopefully be at least not unhappy doing the work, maybe even happy,
Yeah.
And so it's still about finding that good fit and not trying to force yourself into certain categories. I will say, for example, nothing against big tech, but I've decided I just do better at smaller and medium companies. So when I am looking, I don't usually target the big tech. And if they reach out to me, I'll consider, but that's not what I'm targeting.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And actually, as we were talking beforehand, you also mentioned a lot about, workplace culture, not just is it a fit for the work, but is it a
Yeah.
fit for how you want to collaborate or how you want to, like you said, partnership. Tell me a little bit about what do you look for in workplace culture or how do you evaluate that it's going to be a culture that you can thrive in?
Yeah, I try to evaluate in the interview questions. I will tell you what I don't do. I may read reviews like Glassdoor and Best Places to Work, but I don't put a lot of stock in them.
Mm-hmm.
But talking to the interview panel or finding people not on the interview panel that you can talk to, I try to get and try to get insight from questions. If they don't come up organically in what the panel says, I may ask them. So, for example, I believe in collaboration. I don't believe in us versus them or walls. And so I may ask questions to try to understand how the company feels about collaboration. And it's if even if they're not where they want to be, like, okay, I'll give another example. I have a kid, so I care more about work-life balance. And I've interviewed at places that are like, it's not great now, but we want to get there. That's,
Mm,
yeah. So for me, it's about where the company wants to get. And if they're not there yet, are they willing to acknowledge it and work on getting there? Or is it, this is how we've done things, it's the way you got to do it? So I have a list of interview questions that I try to use to determine it.
yeah.
And no matter, I mean, when I'm looking for full-time jobs, if I don't have time for enough questions, I always ask people, what's your favorite thing about working there? And what's your least favorite or something you would change if you could? Because a lot of times you'll get insights from just those two answers.
That's great. Do you, since sometimes, like, especially with the fractional CTO work, you might be
Mhm.
interviewing with the CEO. Do you have any
Yes.
spicy questions you like to ask the CEO about your relationship?
I like to ask them how they see themselves as a leader.
Hmm.
I also do like to ask what keeps them up at night.
Hmm.
But the second one is more to do with me understanding what the problems are they may be having and maybe not articulating as much, and how they see themselves as a leader. Hopefully, should give some insight into what our relationship would be. So it's mainly those two.
Yeah, those are great questions. I love that. I feel like the one I don't even know how I happened on this. Maybe I worked someplace where I saw it not going awesome and so I started asking it, which was how does the leadership team resolve conflict? And one company
Oh,
I
that's a
talked
good
to
one.
actually said if we really needed to, we'd hire a mediator. I was like, holy crap. That feels like the nth degree. That's a lot. So yeah, that's amazing. You also had mentioned that you're more and more over your career, like you're still curious, but you're also really interested in making a difference. What
Yeah.
are some examples or sort of like how broadly or narrowly do you define making a difference?
It's pretty broad. There are many ways to make the world a better place. So, when I was a co founder of a startup, we were making fitness fun, and that improved people's lives. I have before and after pictures of people. I would get people messaging me on Friday nights talking about how the app had changed their life. One person said it motivated her to get off meth.
Oh,
Never thought
wow.
that was never a goal.
That's amazing.
I worked on a project at the IRS where we built the modernized EIN system, and it's still in use over 20 years later.
Oh,
And I
cool.
know how I saw what the before was like, but I never had to use it. When I needed an EIN for my TechBees business or for Nanny Share, how much easier it was to get that EIN is something that
That's,
definitely helped me.
oh my gosh.
Um,
That's a
I,
legacy.
yeah, so I can think of more examples, but just
That's cool.
stuff, things that are somehow making a good difference.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like I feel like more and more folks I meet who are further in their career are feeling like they're prioritizing that, which I love, and I feel
Yes.
like gives me a lot of hope that we can sort of put our tech skills to good use and make the
Same.
world a better place.
Same. Yeah, I think my link says I like people. I mean, I love people. I love technology, so I love using technology to help people.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, that's really good. Okay, I can't steal that, but that's really good. Amazing. And tell me a little bit more. I mean, obviously, doing good in the world and having that positive impact. What else do you feel is most rewarding about what you do?
I think it's a little harder to see, but the difference you make in people's confidence in their career trajectory, etc. As I've been a leader more and more, I've led junior people, senior people, managers, and seen people really grow in ways that surprise themselves and usually they usually surprise me but in ways that surprise themselves and the gratitude that they show for that, that's been really rewarding in a way that it's hard to quantify. You can't say, hey, I did this many pull requests, but it's been very rewarding.
That's so cool. Yeah, I remember, I feel like I used to answer when someone said, what's the highlight of your career? What's a high point? And I did talk about
Mm.
helping someone grow in their career to a place that they never thought they would get and was hugely impactful for their organization. I'm still like, I helped that guy and he learned me.
Yeah,
He like helped me. I learned. And it was
yeah,
so
yeah.
rewarding. I love that. Maybe on the flip side, what is the scariest or riskiest thing you've ever done in your career? And how did you get the courage to do it?
Going on my own to be fractional CTO.
It's a huge
But
leap.
seriously, it is a huge leap. It is scary. There's a saying that 9 out of 10 businesses fail, and we know even though a lot of people think I want to be a solopreneur if things are getting rough. It is hard. It is hard when it goes well, and it's not always easy to have it go well. And when I made the leap, as I do, I had informational interviews with a lot of people who had already had the role, and they were all encouraging, but they all had the title before they went fractional, and I hadn't. My last job was titled Senior Director of Engineering. It was seen as head of engineering. I was introduced as CTO or VP when we'd go to conferences, but that was not the title that's going to show on my LinkedIn. And so doing this without and it's easy to say titles don't matter, but doing this with what felt like an additional risk was scary. And when there was no momentum for the first few months, I forget how many because I've got momentum now, but when there was no momentum, I'm like, what have I done?
Yeah.
But I reminded myself that it can take time and that I can always go back to looking for a full-time job if it's not working. But I wanted to give it a real chance to work out.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited that you did. I mean, it's been really cool to see all the things that you're working on. And I think you and I had talked about this at some point that even when you were a senior director, you were fulfilling a lot of the responsibilities of a VPE or a CTO, but just without
Oh,
the
for sure.
title. And so part of it is getting someone to answer your call. But then once you actually can describe it, you're like, but I've done everything on the checklist of like things that you do.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I think when people talk to me, they realize I can do it, but getting them to talk to me to get the chance, and then it's also a market where there's so many people looking. So
Yeah.
we're all trying to get people to answer our call.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And if you don't mind me asking, was there someone early on who took a chance on you, or how did you get that first person to take your call and actually take a bet on you?
Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor.
Are you ready to take control of your career? West can help. The West Career Accelerator is a 6-month learning program that combines one-on-one mentorship and group-based career coaching to help women gain clarity, save time, and define success on their own terms. We're here to help you create a path towards the career you'll love. Check out how West can help you succeed at joinwest.org.
And now, back to our discussion.
I think some of this goes to the network. I will say when I first was going fractional, one of my mentors, I have a lot of mentors, one of my mentors said, oh, the hardest part for him was the visibility and the networking. And he's like, Boomie, you have no problem with either one. So he thought it would happen pretty fast. And it didn't happen as fast. But when it did, it was people in my network saying, when they heard that someone was looking, saying you should consider Boomie. And so I would say that was the biggest part of it. And that goes to something that sometimes people are afraid or ashamed or whatever, to say things like I'm looking or I'm available. And if people hadn't known I was available, they wouldn't have given my name when other people asked. And so definitely letting people know, I mean, don't have to be excessive or annoying about it, but letting people know that you're available to help you spread the word, to think of you as they hear about opportunities that comes up. And then the other thing that is helping me, that is somewhat of a surprise to me, is just, I talk about my work, of course, in tech settings. I'm going to talk about it because that's what we're all talking about. But recently, there have also been some potential opportunities from talking about this in non-tech settings like dinner parties or doctor offices, and
That's awesome.
and just people seeing, being like, wow, you know a lot about this. I should connect you with this other person, So chatting at dinner parties and offices is also helpful.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like, I have kids and I'm always trying to encourage them to, sort of figure out the art of small talk, because it leads to so much sort of,
Yes.
I don't know, you just get these connections and you're like, who knew that the person next to me might have an internship that I could do as a, or whatever. I'm like, you just got to start talking and put your thoughts and your wishes out there in the world, and something sometimes will come of it. So that's really cool.
You said it way more concisely than I did. The art of small talk,
Well,
authentically, like you're not going in there saying, I'm going to just whisper this, but it comes up in conversation. People notice your energy,
Yeah. And I know certainly earlier in life, people are very uncomfortable talking about themselves, but the more you can get to a point where you're comfortable, but don't feel like you're bragging or anything, like it is an art if you can unlock it. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I would love to dig into networking a little bit more. And I know we have some other topics, we'll come back to those, but just to follow that thread about networking, I can't even remember where you and I met, but I feel like it was in like 3 different online communities. And I've just seen you as a networker and a convener and a connector of people. What is your approach to networking, and how did you get so good at it? How has it served you? It's a big question, I know.
Yeah, it is a big question. I don't know how I got good at it. I do remember when I was at Wharton, a classmate is like, Boomie, you're a connector and you don't see the value in it. And, people think I'm an extrovert. I'm somewhere in between introvert and extrovert. I tell people, I say I'm a social nerd. I need enough alone time. I need enough community. But when I am in communities, I do somehow usually end up being one of, sharing in it, also helping to organize things, And so that's where, like you said, you thought you've seen me in 3 different places. I get that a lot. If I had a nickel for every time someone said, Boomie, I know, I met someone who knows you, I
love it.
So, but I will say, as I'm being more intentional about my networking, that I am looking at which groups are serving my goals. So the goals I had 5 years ago are going to be different from the goals I have now, for example, and which ones are serving my goals, and are they doing so in a sustainable way? Or if it feels huge, like, funny enough, I have an easier time being in 5 different Slack groups than being in one humongous one. But I am in the humongous ones, but I've learned how to figure out which few places I'll participate so that it doesn't feel overwhelming, or am I doing just the calls and not the Slacks? Yeah. So if I had to summarize, I would say what I'm doing now is figuring out which groups I believe I can be in as a participant, not just from the sidelines, and looking at what it takes to get involved, and then giving what I can, and also learning how to take what they're offering.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely hear that. I feel like I think I joined the RAND's leadership group and it's something like 30,000 people.
Yeah,
And I was like, I'm just a lurker. And like if I felt very transactional posting like, oh, I have a job posting. Okay, I'm out,
yeah.
and people direct message me and I'm like, I don't check this very often. And so it is uncomfortable. It's more uncomfortable to be a lurker than to be fully participating in something. So that resonates a lot.
And it's interesting you mentioned that because that's one of the ones I was thinking of that's overwhelming. I've been in it for over a decade, but it's only recently, and similar to you, when I would have a job posting, I would go to like 20 different Slack channels, post a job and leave.
Yeah.
And with Lands, I am more involved now in the fractional CTO coffees, the CTO
cool.
coffees, and then I have a handful of channels that I allow to show me the bolded indicator when they've got unreads. The others, I'm either muted or I'm not in, wait for a tag. And so even with something like Lands that I have found overwhelming, and the CTO coffees know I find this overwhelming, so I'm not giving any secrets here, but I found ways to still make Lands work for my current goals.
That's awesome. Yeah. And like you said, I think it evolves over time. One of the things I've noticed is that, again, I don't know, maybe I'm feeling like I'm getting older and I have to be like reminiscing about my younger years, but I've started being attracted to sort of alumni groups and people where I'm like, oh, you know me way back when. And remember, we all worked together at wherever. And so I have like 2 work alumni groups that I really love. And that's one that I feel like I emotionally need that right now. Even if it's not like a career goal, I feel like it's something useful.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because as I made a list recently of all the places I'm in, because I'm like, okay, this is feeling a lot, and which ones do I want to be more or less involved in? I'm also getting more involved in my Wharton alumni group, the local group that usually meets in person, and also the WhatsApp group, also a different section of Wharton WhatsApp group. And I'm finding I'm enjoying it. Like the other day on my Facebook memories, a picture of Wharton 54 came up and I put it in the general chat and people like, oh, I recognize this person and that person, and
Cool.
and it led to a fun conversation,
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really fun. And you had mentioned for folks who maybe aren't really good at networking yet, you mentioned a little bit of a tip on how to get started or how what to do.
Yeah, I think it's the view to networking. So, and by the way, I shared these tips with a sister who's definitely an introvert, and she said it might work. But it's about picking 2, and I would say 2, not 1, because if you pick only 1 and it doesn't go well, then you're going to just be discouraged. But picking 2 groups that you think you can be involved in somehow. What that somehow is something you have to decide for yourself. And then being involved in them to that level, seeing how it feels, and continuing with that. So maybe you join a group and maybe you do look for a while. Maybe that's what's comfortable for you. And then encourage yourself to maybe reply to someone's post or someone's comment, or a lot of these groups have a way to introduce yourself. The number of people who stay in groups and never introduce themselves always surprises me, but introduce yourself. You maybe I had an introvert friend who introduced themselves in a Slack and were pleasantly surprised to see there were people in their local area.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I would do that, and it can just start with the 2 and adjust. You're not you may not have it on day 1, especially if you're in some like the groups that I've joined where I thought, okay, this channel will be useful for me. I'm like, okay, maybe not. I'm gonna try this channel instead, or maybe neither. Maybe there are groups I'm in that are quiet for weeks, and then we have a conversation. So in some way, find 2 groups, introduce yourself, find your level of initial engagement, and then adjust as you go.
I love that. Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely something I'm getting better at. I feel like now I have an action item to go and maybe leave some groups that I really am just like, oh, that feels like so much work. And it's like, if that's the mindset, then maybe it's not the right group for me. That's amazing. Well, one of the other things I wanted to explore with you a little bit was, has there ever been a moment where I think you love what you do, but has there ever been a moment where you thought about leaving or about taking a break? And if so, what was the scenario?
So, in terms of leaving tech, I've never thought about it. My parents wanted me to be an accountant. I wanted to let me be a technologist, so I'm not going. But I will say, just for your audience, I know people who have considered leaving tech, and I know people who have actually done so.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they're women, and each person, sometimes it's, I just want to do something different. Sometimes it's not wanting to deal with some of the same things over and over. So if people are thinking of leaving, know you're not alone and talk to someone about it. In my case, I love tech. So I'm not gonna leave. That being said, I feel like every year for the last, I don't know how many years, I've considered leaving leadership. And there was a time that my coding skills were still good. They're rusty now. But there are times I thought I will unrust my coding skills and be a senior engineer or staff engineer or whatever, and not a leader. And thankfully, each time that I've thought that, I didn't get the opportunity. I either, got the, but I do want to name that because, sometimes in socials and podcasts, people are like, oh, I always knew, I never doubt. No, there are times that I've doubted, and it's more been about some of the difficulties of being a leader. But I always come back to, yeah, this is what I want to do. So
I love it. I love it. And especially hearing you talk about what's so rewarding about being a people leader and a
yeah.
technology leader, I can see how that resonates. Although I think you've been playing with AI a lot. Does that entice you
Yeah.
to maybe build some stuff?
Oh, well, you can do both. My backup, if the fractional didn't work, is I would take whatever boot camps I want to be an AI engineer.
Yeah.
That's off the table. However, I'm building things in AI, and my clients are using AI, so I'm getting some involvement there. I finally built I built the same app in 4 different tools just so I could compare them.
Oh, cool.
So I built, it's called Windcraft for tracking wins, because if you've talked to me, I say you should track your wins and kudos in some place. So I built that in Lovable, Replit, Bolt, and Cloud Code. Gonna maintain it in Cloud Code. The rest are just, I wrote a blog about it. Yeah, it's made it into some of my courses. Then I built a few other apps in either Cloud Code or Cursor Codex so that I can get the full range of experience. So I built a job search agent that's supposed to help me find jobs, but I built a security policy assistant because I'm usually working on DevSecOps. On International Women's Day, when Lovable credits were free, I built a study buddy app. Initially, just because I'm like, I'm going to be on the Zoom with people building on Lovable. I thought of building this, but I've expanded that quite a bit into a product that, I'm using it for myself because it helps me keep track of the terminology across different clients, but I've expanded it to be, more general use. So
That's cool.
that's what I've got so far. I've got a few other apps on the list to build.
I love it. I know I didn't ask you this ahead of time, but any sense that at some point you want to start your own thing? Is that in the cards?
Start my own product
Yeah.
company.
Yeah. Start your own startup or product. Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe. Yeah.
There's time still.
Yes, there is time.
That's cool. Awesome. Well, I've just really enjoyed our conversation. I feel like it's been so fun to explore the different things you've done and your approach to different things. Very, very cool. Wanted to end with maybe 2 questions, which I always love to ask and share out with the West community. What is a piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh, the biggest piece of advice would be you gotta speak up for yourself. Don't expect the work to speak up for it. Don't think it's boastful. Don't think it's being immodest. You have to speak up for yourself. It's a lesson I learned way too late, and so I shout it from the rooftops now.
I love it.
And yeah, it's actually my latest Ada Marie blog was sent yesterday. So when it's published, the topic is self-advocacy in under 750 words. So it's short, but it's about self-advocacy because it's such an important lesson.
Oh my gosh, we'll make sure to link to your blog post from the episode when it's live. That's fantastic. And then also I know you have lots of things going on. Any opportunity to spotlight something that's coming up that you're excited for folks to hear about?
Yeah, I just released some courses to help people understand tech and AI, even if they don't have a tech or software background. And it's been fun because I've been beta testing them on my dad. So he didn't,
Love it.
and he's honest about when he doesn't understand things. So that's been cool because I know that AI is moving so fast and there's a lot of confusion. And so, some are free, some just cost a little bit. They're all on demand. So that's something that may be helpful, and I'm enjoying building it. Other than that, the challenge and opportunity with Fractional is even if you're fully booked, you need to be looking for more clients because you're not a full-time permanent hire, right? You're either part-time or you're temporary. So yeah, I always tell people, if you know someone looking for engineering leadership or career coaching, send them my way because I may have availability, and if I don't, I may soon thereafter.
That's awesome. And where can folks find you for that?
Techbees.me. So think like a busy bee. TECHBEES.me. And also feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I talk on LinkedIn about fun stuff like how my boss me is being so demanding, but I also talk about some of the AI building out loud or advice. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your insights. It's been such a pleasure to learn more about you and to share it out with the West community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Engineer Your Career is produced by West, a learning community that empowers women technologists through mentorship. Special thanks to our audio production team, Heidi Williams, Amanda Beatty, and yours truly, Karen Coe. If you enjoy our work, we encourage you to share this episode with a friend. Want to hear more from Engineer Your Career? Subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. We look forward to having you back for our next episode. Thanks for tuning in.